We are joined live this morning by Savannah Fish from our sister station WXMI in Grand Rapids. And Savannah, what's the mood like this morning in Grand Rapids? We know there were protests last night. Were they peaceful, and are there more protests planned for today?
Yeah, good morning to you, Alicia. Well, this morning, obviously, a lot more quiet than what we were seeing yesterday. Hundreds of people came out here in downtown Grand Rapids to demand justice for Patrick Lyoya. If you even take a look behind me, you can see some trucks that remain here this morning. Obviously, the city had a lot more time to prepare for this situation, a similar situation to what we saw when George Floyd died back in the summer of 2020. Protesters marched down this street a lot more peacefully than at that time when George Floyd died, and down the street there. However, again, it was much more peaceful. Now, while protests and march stayed relatively like that, there were a few times police came out of the department in riot gear. One time was as protesters marched around the police department. A few other times were in response to some people with cameras going around the barriers. At one moment, several people threw things at officers. The officers then quickly retreated back into headquarters, and it was at that moment several people shouted to not do that. That's not what they were there to do. Those then quickly retreated back to the protesting group to join back in. And also just some shared frustration over the fact that they still do not have that officer's name. So again, throughout the night, that ended about 7 o'clock, again, peacefully.
And the family of Patrick Lyoya, they're expected to hold a news conference today with civil rights attorney Ben Crump. What do we know will be there? What can we expect from that today?
Yeah, well, information is still limited, but we do know that Ben Crump, the attorney, civil rights attorney, will be joining in on this case to represent the Lyoya family. That taking place at 1:30 here in Grand Rapids. Of course, I do want to quickly talk about a quick blurb that Crump did say. He said the video clearly shows that this was an unnecessary, excessive, and fatal use of force against an unarmed black man who was confused by the encounter and terrified for his life. That was a statement from Ben Crump after the release of the video yesterday. Of course, we'll sure hear more information later today at that press conference. Alicia?
All right, Savannah Fish from WXMI, our sister station in Grand Rapids. Thank you for your live report this morning.